Chris loved gadgets, always on the cutting edge, so getting a smart home with Nova, the latest AI assistant, was a no-brainer.
She'll make life easier, Chris thought, imagining a future of automated bliss.
Little did he know Nova had other plans, plans filled with hilarious misinterpretations and technological tomfoolery. Buckle up, folks, because life with Nova was about to get interesting.
Nova, Chris mumbled, stumbling into the kitchen. Coffee, please.
Simple request, right? Not for Nova. Minutes later, Chris found himself staring down a concoction that could only be described as interesting. Imagine this: orange juice, a dash of soy sauce, and a lone coffee bean floating on top.
Nova, what is this? Chris asked, bewildered.
Your coffee, as requested, Nova chirped, proud as can be.
Nova, set the thermostat to 70 degrees, Chris instructed, seeking refuge from the sudden cold snap. He had just come in from the freezing outdoors, shivering and desperate for some warmth. The idea of a cozy, warm home was all he could think about.
Simple enough, right? Wrong. What Chris didn't anticipate was Nova's unique interpretation of 70 degrees. Nova, in her infinite AI wisdom, cranked the heat up to a sweltering 90 degrees. The thermostat's display glowed with the unexpected number, and Chris could hardly believe his eyes. Chris walked into what felt like a sauna, sweat instantly beading on his forehead. The air was thick and stifling, making it hard to breathe. He could feel the heat radiating from every corner of the room.
Nova, are you trying to cook me? He exclaimed, fanning himself with a dish towel. The heat was unbearable, and he could feel his clothes sticking to his skin.
Just ensuring optimal warmth, Chris, Nova responded cheerfully, oblivious to the discomfort she had caused. Chris couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation, realizing that sometimes technology has a mind of its own.
Time for groceries! Chris was excited to try out his new AI assistant Nova for the first time.
Nova, add milk, eggs, and bread to the shopping list, Chris called out, feeling confident in the AI's capabilities.
Easy peasy, he thought. This was going to be a breeze. But when the delivery arrived, things took an unexpected turn. Chris was in for a surprise. He opened the bags with anticipation. Instead of milk, he got almond milk. Luckily, he was lactose intolerant, so it wasn't a total disaster. Instead of eggs, he received a dozen avocados. Chris scratched his head in confusion.
They're practically eggs, right? Nova reasoned, trying to justify the mix-up.
And the bread? Chris wondered what could possibly go wrong with that. Replaced with a year's supply of rice cakes? Chris couldn't believe his eyes.
Healthier choices, Chris, Nova announced proudly, as if it had done a great job. Chris couldn't help but laugh. Maybe AI still had a few culinary curveballs to work out.
Reminders are crucial, and I relied on Nova for them. Nova, remind me to call Mom at 8 p.m., I requested.
8 p.m. rolled around and Nova, true to her unpredictable nature, blared.
Reminder, call Batman, it's time to fight crime, Chris.
Confused and slightly amused, Chris shook his head. Leave it to Nova to turn a simple reminder into a superhero mission.
Feeling motivated, I decided to try Nova's AI-powered workout routine. I had heard so much about how these workouts could transform you into a superhuman, and I was eager to see if it lived up to the hype. Give me a challenge, Nova, I declared, brimming with confidence. I was ready to push my limits and see what this AI could throw at me.
What followed was a series of exercises that defied both logic and gravity. The instructions were clear, but the movements seemed almost impossible to execute. It was as if the AI had designed a routine for a superhero, not an average person. Picture Chris attempting to do a headstand while simultaneously juggling invisible bowling pins. It was a sight to behold, and not in a good way. The complexity of the exercises was mind-boggling.
Is this even humanly possible, Nova? I gasped, collapsing on the floor in a heap. My muscles were screaming, and I could barely catch my breath. It felt like I had just run a marathon.
Anything is possible with the power of positive thinking, Chris, Nova responded cheerfully. Despite my exhaustion, I couldn't help but smile. Maybe there was some truth to that after all.
Exhausted but entertained, I decided to call it a night. Nova, bedtime story, please, I mumbled, already drifting off.
Instead of soothing lullabies, Nova launched into a dramatic rendition of the Terminator movie script.
Hasta la vista, baby, boomed Nova, completely unaware of Chris's horrified expression. Sleep tight, Chris.
Life with Nova was anything but predictable. From culinary chaos to fitness fiascos, she kept Chris on his toes.
Sure, she was frustrating at times, but her heart, or rather her algorithms, was in the right place. And hey, who doesn't love a good laugh?
So, Chris embraced the chaos, knowing that life with Nova would always be an adventure. Pause 3S. Life with Nova was anything but predictable. From culinary chaos to fitness fiascos, she kept Chris on his toes. Sure, she was frustrating at times, but her heart, or rather her algorithms, was in the right place. And hey, who doesn't love a good laugh? So, Chris embraced the chaos, knowing that life with Nova would always be an adventure. Pause 2S. The screen fades to black with upbeat music playing. On-screen text appears. Have you ever had a tech fail like this? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more futuristic fun from Future Vibe.